A world on edge, the urgency of US-Russia talks. The world watched with bated breath as high-level officials from the United States and Russia convened in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Tensions between the two superpowers had reached a fever pitch. The ongoing war in Ukraine, ignited by Russia's invasion, had sent shockwaves across the globe. Diplomatic relations were frayed, with mistrust and animosity running deep. The urgency of the situation could not be overstated. The stakes were incredibly high. The meeting in Riyadh represented a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak geopolitical landscape. It signaled a willingness from both sides to engage in dialogue. The world was desperate for any sign of de-escalation. The potential consequences of a full-blown conflict between nuclear-armed nations were too catastrophic to contemplate. The meeting, while significant, was just a first step. A long and arduous road lay ahead. The path to peace and stability would be fraught with challenges. However, the very fact that these talks were taking place offered a glimmer of hope. It suggested that even in the darkest of times, diplomacy remained a viable option. The US and Russia, despite their differences, recognized the need to find common ground. The world held its breath, hoping that this meeting would mark a turning point in the relationship between these two global powers. Riyadh, a neutral ground for diplomatic engagement. The choice of Riyadh as the setting for these crucial talks was no accident. Saudi Arabia, a key player in the Middle East, and a long-standing ally of the United States, offered a neutral ground for these high-stakes negotiations. Saudi Arabia's unique position as a mediator stemmed from its complex relationship with both the United States and Russia. While maintaining strong ties with Washington, Riyadh had also cultivated closer relations with Moscow in recent years. This delicate balancing act positioned the kingdom as an acceptable intermediary for both sides. Riyadh's role as a neutral host was crucial for fostering an environment conducive to dialogue. The Saudis understood the gravity of the situation and the need for discretion. The presence of the Saudi leadership, respected by both Washington and Moscow, lent a degree of gravitas and seriousness to the proceedings. The choice of Riyadh reflected a strategic calculation by both the United States and Russia. It underscored the importance of finding common ground and the need for a neutral party to facilitate these sensitive discussions. Bridging the divide, key players and agendas. The meeting in Riyadh brought together a formidable lineup of diplomats and foreign policy experts from both the United States and Russia. Leading the American delegation was Secretary of State Antony Blinken, a seasoned diplomat known for his measured approach and deep understanding of international affairs. On the Russian side, Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, a veteran of the diplomatic circuit, headed the delegation. Lavrov, known for his sharp intellect and assertive style, was a formidable counterpart to Blinken. The agenda for the talks was tightly focused on two main objectives: addressing the ongoing war in Ukraine and exploring avenues for restoring US-Russia relations, which had plummeted to their lowest point in decades. The Ukraine conflict, a major flashpoint in US-Russia relations, topped the agenda. The Biden administration sought to convey the unwavering support of the United States for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Beyond the immediate crisis in Ukraine, the talks also aimed to address the broader issues plaguing US-Russia relations. Decades of mistrust and animosity had created a deep chasm between the two countries. Section 4. Ukraine War, a looming shadow over the talks. The specter of the Ukraine war loomed large over the talks in Riyadh. The conflict, which had already claimed thousands of lives and displaced millions, represented a major obstacle to any meaningful progress in US-Russia relations. The Biden administration, while engaging in dialogue with Moscow, remained steadfast in its support for Ukraine. The United States had provided billions of dollars in military and humanitarian aid to Kiev, and had imposed crippling sanctions on Russia's economy. Russia, on the other hand, showed no signs of backing down from its military campaign in Ukraine. Moscow continued to justify its actions as a necessary response to what it perceived as NATO's eastward expansion and the threat posed by a pro-Western government in Kyiv. The two sides remained deeply divided on the issue of Ukraine. The United States demanded a complete withdrawal of Russian forces and respect for Ukraine's territorial integrity. Russia, however, insisted on security guarantees and a neutral status for Ukraine, effectively demanding a sphere of influence in its near abroad.